This is Space Cats Peace Turtles, the unofficial podcast for Fantasy Flight's Twilight Imperium.
Episode 195.
Inside Your Best Friend.
A guide to beating these three guys.
Music by Ben Prunty, featuring Matt Martins
and Hunter Donaldson.
Sean,
and you'll
Galaxy
like 'em.
Quest was literally basically made for you, I think.
Really?
I think so. I think Sean would.
I mean, I think you would love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird that I haven't seen it.
It's really funny.
I feel like there's something with Tim Allen where every time I watch him in a movie, I know he would be awful to work with.
Oh, he's horrible. He's legendarily horrible.
Legendarily.
Yeah. He might be the single most famous person I can think of that I have heard only bad things about.
Yeah.
Literally only bad things about.
This is already a weird episode, and it's going to be a very weird episode.
Oh,
you
are we
all.
in the episode
We're in the
now?
episode now. You heard a little bit of Molly. Molly's
Yeah,
crawling
we're
around in
in
the
it.
background trying to eat cat litter. We got Sean here. Hi, Sean. How are you?
Hi, I'm pretty good. So it's been rainy. It's going to be rainy almost the entire time I'm here.
Yeah, that's
Oh, yeah.
fun. Yeah, your trip
Weather.
to Arkansas is real ruined.
Except for Monday. Oh, we could talk about the spook light.
We won't do that. Molly's here.
We won't do that, he says.
I'm going to be like jumping away from the microphone a lot just to grab
chill.
my baby.
Yeah.
This is like the loosest episode of Space Cats Peace Turtles
Yeah,
ever.
well, here, I can do a little bit of work for us. So, you were probably expecting the Cabal episode. Our lives are a mess. We're trying to get everything straight, but we have Sean in town, so we thought we would record a loose, fun, and fancy-free episode. There will be some strategy talk in this episode, okay? You strategy heads out there that want the hardcore strats, you might get something good out of this. However, those of you that like the super regimented, structured episodes, I'll just be frank, this one's probably not for you. And definitely those Molly haters out there, and I have seen you. I know about you, okay? Molly haters, beware. This is, Molly is guest appearing
in
on
it.
this episode.
Yeah, I'm not doing anything about her presence in there. There's a dog outside the window now, too. There might be a dog in this episode. I don't know, man.
We're getting a dog. We have a baby now. It's three
Three
boys,
men and a baby.
three boys, a dog, and a baby.
Yep.
But yeah, so
Cat.
What do we do? What is this episode actually? What did we decide to impromptu record about?
So this is an episode about playing against your friends,
Right.
In
If your
a
friends
strategy game.
are Matt, Sean, and Hunter.
well, the idea would be that we can talk about what it means to specifically play against your friend in a general sense,
Yeah.
and then sort of as an example talk about what it is like to play as friends, the three of us,
Right.
play against each other.
Right.
Because it's definitely not just about the mechanics of playing
Yes.
against your friends.
Well,
It's about who is your friend and how do you play against
Yes.
them, you know.
We are-
it's that sick kind of stuff.
We're
you
deep
know what I mean?
in the tournament right now, which is very noteworthy that it's mostly strangers playing against strangers with only a few instances where
people
they've
knowing
played
each
on
other.
TGS together.
Right.
But it's even more different when it's like, this is my friend that I have to maintain a non-Twilight Imperium relationship with.
Yes.
After the fact. And what does that mean going into the game, and what does
Right.
that mean coming out of the game?
Right.
So yeah, I think this is an especially interesting thing for the three of us to do because of our inherently antagonistic relationships with each other. So should we do some background?
Yeah, so the three of us have been playing board games together for a long time. We've talked about this in other episodes. But I don't know how much we've really ever specifically gone into exactly how we play against each other, which I would describe as petty, sassy, rude. What are some other words? Just kind of like
Sometimes
mean.
I think we dip into like a little, like playfully impish.
Yes, impish is a good word for it. Occasionally, there is some warmth and friendliness, but I think it's kind of fought for. It's not our default. I feel like any game with the three of us in it, my relationship with the other two of you will kind of wax and wane. And actually, there are like some very specific patterns that I've identified that I go through with the two of you specifically. And it's funny because they're kind of opposite patterns,
Right.
actually.
Well, and the other thing I think too that's funny is it's evolving in the sense that, Hunter, as you and I have done the show and gotten, I mean, basically better at this game than most of our friends.
Godly, I would say.
More in tune with like the specific cost of things, and then our friends sit down at the table and kind of, Sean is still totally in his right to just be like, I want 4 trade goods for a thing, and we're like, well, but that's not what the standard price of that thing
Right.
is.
Yeah.
And
he
Sean
doesn't care.
at all.
Right, and why would he care?
Right, why would he care? And so we have to account for that, and I think we frequently get extra frustrated these days when dealing with our friends who are outside our meta. And if anything, it makes sense why people who are outside of kind of tournament or TTS meta listening to this show also kind of bounce off of those ideas that we express, because it's like, that doesn't make any sense to my meta because my friend is a petty, impish weirdo.
I will say that is true depending on some of the people
Yeah.
that we could be talking about, but not, I would say specifically not Sean, actually, for me anyways.
Yeah, that's more my. I would say that's more my game with Matt.
Yes.
Well, no, I've tried to extort you a few times.
Oh yeah. No, it happens. But the pattern of it is different, and the emotional roller coaster of it has a different starting point and I think ending point. But everything you just said, Matt, I totally agree with in regards to somebody like
rest.
Connor
Yeah.
or Alex.
Connor and Alex especially, I would say, are the two where Hunter, you and I will collude beforehand.
Yeah, but
Like
I would do
becomes
dirty
not,
stuff.
it is not a sitting down and we're all on even footing. It's like, I want Connor to have a bad time today.
Yeah. Well, I agree with that. The problem is that I'm actually not very good at following through on that type
We
of
talk about
agreement.
it and then we don't. Neither of us
I
really
don't
goes
actually
there.
want my friends to have a bad time with the board game, but I will say there is kind of an aspect to Connor and Alex where I kind of feel a sense of like, if we let them do their thing,
Right.
they will win every time, and it will be very miserable
Right.
for.
Well, that's what it really
us.
it's more. It's less about like, I want to make sure Connor has a bad time, and more, I know Connor will make sure I have a bad time.
Yes,
So
yes.
I have to get ahead of it. And the same thing then is true for Sean. I know Sean, given the opportunity to hurt 2 people, if me, Matt, is one of the options, I will be chosen.
That's true.
Period. Straight up and down.
Every time, doesn't matter the game. Doesn't matter if we're on a team.
So that becomes a thing I have to account for. I don't get to play a normal game where it's just like, oh, my neighbor, maybe I'll do a support swap with Sean. That support swap with Sean is meaningless.
I would say though, in a way, that's actually more normal than what
Than
has
what the TTS thing is.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, we're all just these weird strangers who come at this from completely
I think-
neutral backgrounds.
and that's the part that I think our audience sometimes loses sight of from a and maybe we even lose sight of it sometimes
Yeah.
from a design perspective. A game like Twilight Imperium is supposed to be for people that really love the game, but also just 6 bozos
Right.
that half read the rule book
Right.
and are just going to try and have a good time with it, and then not play it again for another year.
Well, and more than anything, Twilight Imperium, due solely because of its length, I mean, it just is a relationship simulator, basically.
Yeah.
And I think
Ooh.
that's the big thing that we've always gotten into is, I think we are, I mean, like last year, not this most previous year, but the year before that, the last in real life holiday spectacular we had, which we've already had like an episode kind of accounting for all of that. But like, I screamed in Sean's face.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
In a very rude way.
Yeah.
It was rude. But
was
also, we know all of us have a confidence in each other that is rude in the game. Now, it doesn't
Yeah.
excuse it, but it's not something we hold on to after the fact. It seems like both of you have been very willing to decide that is a funny jokey, terrible thing that Matt
Oh well,
did.
so you can watch. So go back and watch it. Well, maybe not. But if you do happen to watch it, because I edited that one like it was a film or something. I don't know. Like I really scrubbed through it. That was back when I was just getting used to Premiere and was really excited about it. And these days, it just makes me sad. But I remember watching that moment over and over, and really for me, I felt a sense of like, oh, this is a lot. And I was like, man, it's such a bummer that there's an audience here, because if they weren't, this would just be
a thing.
this would just be a thing, and it would be fine. But it's like one of those things that like I can't really explain to the audience why this is, and it's not okay, really.
No,
I'm not trying to excuse
right.
it. It's more like this is part of the, this is not just like one thing that has happened. This is,
right. These are understood dynamics, and like, to be clear,
but
like,
that doesn't make them okay, and that's not exactly what I'm trying to say. But
exactly.
it's more like this isn't the most surprising thing that would happen. I'm not shocked.
Right.
Like, yeah.
And my argument is the same thing of like, if we're going by like a lot of game theory standards, it's also not okay that Sean will just undo my game if given the choice, right?
Yeah,
that is
that's not
technically
you're in
not
trouble.
okay. But none of us are mad at Sean for it. I mean, I am
Well,
mad
he is mad.
in the game. I'm screaming at Sean
in his face.
But after the fact, neither of us are upset about the exchange. So that is part of what's going into all of these dynamics. Is when we pick up the game, we go, listen, we're gonna do this for like 8 to 10 hours, and we all accept that tensions might flare.
You know what?
It's just like a neutral. It's like a nice little neutral place to just really cut loose and let your emotions just explode right out at you.
Right.
Yeah.
It's play. It's play.
It is play. And those emotions are kind of part of the game when we play it.
Yeah.
And it's totally chill if you are somebody that's like, I don't want that in my game,
Right.
and that's not acceptable to me. And I totally get that. It's
And there,
totally understandable.
I get comments justifiably, or it's like, wow, I would never play a game with Matt, and it's like, yeah, maybe you probably shouldn't, but also, I don't go that hard against a stranger. Now, I mean, I have. I have. Zendog, I know I've done this. I've probably yelled at you more than I should have.
Right.
But that's like a couple people. And honestly, even in those situations, those are people that I also played with enough that I started to get too comfortable with.
Right.
And that's where I have to like limit myself, is like, well, this isn't my friend since 7th grade. This is the person
Right.
I've known through my podcast since last year.
Oh my God, we've been friends for a long time.
Yeah.
and we're old. We're getting older all the time.
Well,
So
okay, can we start to get a little bit more focused then on specifically then how we view playing against each other as individuals?
Yeah. Okay. So this is meant to be a strategy guide. From I would say each of us are an expert on the other, as far as their game, more so than I would say anybody else can claim to be, anyways.
Right.
So this is meant to be your advice for playing specifically against the three of us, which I'm realizing with Sean now is probably not going to come up for you, the listener.
Well, I think it provides context to what you see in like future holiday spectaculars.
Yes.
And like we talk about Sean a lot, and boy, Molly, how are you doing? I'm
Molly's
sorry.
in
listen.
it.
I think Molly needs to say something.
Yeah, Molly, do you got anything to add? Could it be how to play against Hunter, Sean, Matt,
And
and
Molly.
Molly? Why not?
Yeah. And Molly. Well, Molly's in here.
Well,
Molly. Yeah.
let's start with Hunter then.
Okay.
Because I think Hunter is maybe the most boring of the three options. Not you as a player. I'm saying to describe how we play against you.
Yes.
It's more normal of a conversation.
I
Once
have
we
a
get into
very
Sean, and
strict
especially once we get into
plan.
me, there are different
Almost every time
things.
with
So yeah,
Hunter.
Sean, what do you sit down, you're playing against Hunter, regardless of faction and position and everything else, what's on your mind?
Well, usually I feel like there's what it comes down to me is kind of watching Hunter play. We're gonna see. Often we'll be right next to each other. Pans out a lot that we're right
that
next
does
to each
happen a
other.
lot. We
play
do-
pretty well next to each other.
We do, actually.
I take a very neutral attitude, but I kind of watch the one thing I keep an eye out for, and this is what I'll turn on you. This is where I'll invariably always turn on you is when you start getting, and it doesn't have to do with your position on the board almost ever.
Right.
It has to do with who you've swayed over to your side.
Right.
A table talk
Yes,
wise.
yes.
Once I see that you don't really need me for your plan to succeed anymore, it's all in on Hunter. Especially if we're right next to each other.
So yeah, you're saying that once I've made other friends at the table, then you decide to turn on me because I've made other friends, because I have other people
because he knows
helping-
you're gonna get. Now you have too many friends, and
You got
you're
too many.
I mean, you win, Hunter. In our friend group, you win all the time, basically. Because
I've got a pretty high win rate in our group.
yes,
So-
and
and outside
because
of
you
it.
find someone to turn to your side. I never do.
Yeah.
Unless, I mean, EJ, because EJ will just be someone's tried and true game long. And it's almost always you. That's the other problem is you almost always have EJ just in your pocket. I wish EJ was here right now so that we could get his take on all of this.
Well,
but
but
yeah, you usually, at the start of a game, here's how I would say
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
If we're talking about like our core group, you have Sean at the beginning for this reason. He says like, hey, I'll party with Hunter until it's not a good idea anymore.
it's
EJ's yours.
rising tide floats all boats, and then you
Right.
pull the ripcord, and you're like, well, and except for my boat's gonna
Yeah.
be floated the most.
EJ's yours all game long. Connor's never yours. And
Yeah.
Alex is, I would say, similar to Sean, except for Alex has been looking for a way to screw you over since the beginning of the game.
Well, me and Alex can't actually talk to each other in the game
Yeah.
at all because I don't know what it is, but language-wise, there's always some sort of communication
Yeah.
breakdown. I always make a deal with him that then he says wasn't a deal
Right.
and doesn't exist. And he also, one thing that's interesting about Alex playstyle-wise is I've never seen a player that is more willing to be mean to you earlier in the game.
Right.
Alex is the opposite of Rising Tide Floats All Boats. He's like on round one, he will do whatever he can to make you annoyed and hurt your game
Right.
on round one.
Which is hilarious.
When you have the most opportunity
Yeah.
to ruin his game. But I don't like playing that way, so maybe he's doing it right.
Right.
Because I do not like actually, I may threaten mutually assured destruction, but it is not actually in my arsenal.
Yeah.
Like I do not
Right.
actually have it in me to do that.
Sean, do you think of mutually assured destruction, or to me, my vibe on you is it just becomes destruction. It's not even necessarily mutually assured. You'll try to find your way out of it, but you are definitely
I've
going
played
for the throat.
I've played at least I think 2 games of Twilight Imperium in my life where I have disregarded my own
Path.
path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which happens, I mean, it happens a lot, but not necessarily to the effect of trying to take someone else
just giving
down.
up on the rest. Yeah, right.
The mutually assured destruction is always, a great way to sort of hold up the status quo. And
Right.
And Sean, when it comes from you, even if it's just a threat, the problem with you is it almost always comes with a smile, which almost nobody else can pull off. Most people, I'm taking you down with me. With
Right.
Sean, it's I'm taking you down with me.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like there's fire in your eyes that is like gleeful, and so
Right.
you're like, oh, there's no way.
It's
there's
almost
no
not-
talking him out of this
Right.
because now
this
he's
is also
getting his rocks
fun.
off.
This is
yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
See, okay, but so why does that happen to you and not to me? I feel like it's because and the reason that in our friend group I have so many like I would say
Friends.
relationships that go positive relationships that go from game to game
Yeah.
is because it's not just about one game. You know, in if you're a bunch of people that play together over and over, I especially in the early game am always sometimes people say will critique me whenever I'm playing on Twitch and make it seem like I let deals go too easy.
Yeah.
I am always down in the early game to give somebody else a little bit of leeway and give them a slightly good deal, a slightly even better deal for them than it is for me. And within our friend group, I definitely do this. And that's why, you know, from game to game, I can have these kind of positive relationships with people because I have, honest to God, just given them good deals before.
Right. And they've that most of them have been probably betrayed by me in some way, which forces them to never. I mean, they don't want to do deals with me.
Right.
Because why should they? Why
Right.
should they trust?
See,
that deal?
that's the whole problem with betrayal type stuff. If you're gonna have to play with the same person over
Right.
and over, and this
Yeah.
is like a classic thing that we get all the time. for like plays of the week and stuff is some sort of story where, oh, so and so betrayed me last time, so this time I was going to get them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The I think this all plays into how I play against you, Hunter. If we're focusing the conversation on playing against you, because I think you and I have this constant dynamic of, and especially nowadays because you and I have the show and our friends are showing up once a year to play with us. Our friends are always choosing sides between you and I, basically,
Right.
because it is, I think, sort of just assumed that you and I are at odds with each other, which makes it especially annoying when you and I are trying to do some sort of deals with each other, but essentially all of it is always from the perspective of everyone else. Like, if we were to start dealing with each other completely and we were just in each other's pockets, like, the table would just not let us get away with it. They would just stop that. Like, they don't want the two of us to float each other's boats far above everyone else.
See, I actually disagree because I don't know that we've ever really had a game where we were really, truly floating each other's
I
boats.
want to
I'm saying,
play
though,
that
is I think-
game.
I'm just saying, if we do that, Matt, I think one of us wins 100%
I know,
of the
but
time.
the problem is we never... I think you and I never even allow each other to get to that point. Is the problem? Like,
No,
and
it's
it
simpler,
goes both
it's simpler
ways.
than that. You
What?
are not a boat floater. Your boat has a
See,
heavy
this
anchor.
is what makes me mad. This is what makes me mad is that's what you look at me, and anytime I come to you with deals, I'm the one person at the table that you go, feels like you're trying to get something out of me. You don't. You just said a situation where you're like,
Right.
I will give favorable deals to other people, except Matt.
That's not true.
That's mostly
That-
true.
That is 100% not true. So here's how the breakdown happens. I'm down to give favorable deals that are within kind of my own wheelhouse. So maybe I should just rephrase it. So if it's like if it's a deal that is something that you're very audacious in your deal making. You always do something very bold, and the boldness is what I like to do. Simple, straight up, deals where somebody gets a little something more than I do.
I feel like
essentially.
I've even done that, and I just get
Matt,
mostly refusals from you. Yes, Sean.
when I feel
Well,
like
now at this point, I basically just try and give you I always want to be on your good side in this
everything
game.
you do makes me so mad in the game. Because now it's like, oh, Matt's a hothead. I better just like give him a back rub and a pony so that he leaves me alone.
what happens
well, I
is
don't know what to do. Is I think the problem.
Matt
Just do normal trades with me.
Matt will come into your home, spit in your coffee, look you in the eye, and then be like, "Hey, do you want to do a 2 for 2?"
See, that's actually
But-
very.
no,
That's
okay,
100% accurate.
I get that there are times when I do that, but what I'm saying is because I have done that, I've been trying to shift my own meta for like 3 years now, but I have that in my background, which means now I am refused deals on the onset because I might also spit in your coffee at some point in part of this deal.
Here's where I'm at personally with this particular subject, and you're not gonna like this, but I literally, when we're about to go play, I will think to myself, try to say yes to Matt, basically, and I really am. All I'm wanting to do is say yes to you, to whatever it is that you come up with, and eventually, if we keep going down this path, it is gonna be you suggest anything, and I'm just gonna say yes. But I don't think I really think the point I'm trying to make here is that I do the rising tide floats all boats style of trading, but it's not. It's just about, oh, let's divide up the territory. Let's, I'll wash that for you. Just like courteous stuff, the little things, and generally you create moments of like, I'm going all in on this like wild thing to try and get it, and that makes it harder for me to say yes. But I am literally at a point now where I'm just telling myself to just say yes, no matter how over the top or ridiculous that it is.
Hunter, when I make deals with you in particular, I feel like every time I've made a deal with you on the table, you are always honest, and I never trust it.
Dude, that happens to me all the time. That's another aspect of this, Matt. You're making it sound like everybody's just really sweet on me, but I will say things that are even obvious
Every time,
to
yeah.
people, and they will be like,
Yeah.
Seems like he's lying to me. But I get people. I do win people over. Sometimes.
But every time you make a deal with me, the reason I feel like I'm a little suspect is because you tell me how good of a deal it is, and you're like, "This is a great deal. This is a great deal. I can't believe you wouldn't take this deal." And that is always so suspect. And I'm waiting for you to break bad on it.
Absolutely. And what stinks is, again, coming from the like Hunter and Matt sit down at the table and sort of they're sitting there kind of telling people like, no, this is good. You want to take this. And we are both always combating each other in, now hang on, don't listen to him, listen to me. And both, I know Hunter has many times accused me of suggesting something that obviously I'm only suggesting it because it helps me, even when that isn't the intent. It's part of it, and I try to be as open as I can. Like, yeah, it does help me, and you have all these other options, but I want to make sure you know the options that are good for me too. But because he starts painting it as Matt's trying to do things, Matt's doing dirty things to your deal here, and you're not gonna like it.
Yeah. So are we just? It feels like we're just playing a game now against each other. Like this feels like a podcast episode where we are literally playing against each other, and Molly is winning. Yeah. So I don't know. I think that that when it comes to the, how invested we are in the game versus the rest of our friends, it's natural that we would push back against each other meta-wise.
Yeah.
I'm
sensitive. I'm sensitive to it is the problem.
I'm trying to stop it. Like
Right.
I'm trying to
Me too.
to stay out of it.
Trying to meditate a lot more.
Trying to meditate. I'm also just trying to cure myself
go.
of the affliction of wanting to win all the time, to be honest.
Sure.
So you're trying to play like me now.
I'm not, but I'm not trying to play. I would characterize what you're doing as more making up your own objective for the game, and I am always trying to play the game as intended by Dane, our king, or Milty, or whoever it is. But I want to play the game as intended, but I just don't want to be so invested in winning that it's really going to bum me out if I don't, or that it like will create. I just want to play for the love of the game.
Right.
That's all. That's where I'm trying to get to emotionally with the game. And I think sometimes I fail to do that. Sometimes I succeed in doing that.
Right.
But I'm also not trying to make up. What you're doing, Sean, is making up a new objective that only you know about. It's a secret objective that you can see. That if you just do this, you will, in your own heart, say, well, "Yeah, I won that game."
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about playing against Sean specifically then, and this strange dynamic. Sean, do you categorize that as a true statement that when you sit down to play, you are not looking at 10 victory points, you are looking at some other metric that you have defined from the get-go?
When I sit down to play, initially I do start every game with the intention of winning.
Right.
I do start there.
Right. But
And
then
I try to
the game
hold
becomes
on.
about relationships.
I try to hold on as long as I can, but
He makes it till about round 3.
Yep.
And then you kind of and coincidentally, that's also when our breakdown starts happening, I would say. As long as you're playing the game, and that's kind of how I am with a lot of my relationships with other players, is like, if you want to play the game, I just want to give you advice, and I'm always down for... I don't mind when somebody that did a bunch of deals with me wins instead of me. I actually have no problem with that.
I'm better at being okay with losing in our friend group than I am
Outside of the
online
friend
and with
group.
other people. I take losses way too hard with strangers, but with my friend group, I'm pretty decent at kind of just like folding my arms and sitting back and like, well, I'm kind of out of this one, and I'll do the actions I need to do, but I'm just gonna step away and let the winners kind of fight over the spoils.
That's interesting because I feel like when we play outside of our friend group, when we're playing, and I'm about to compliment enormously some people that know who they are, but I might not necessarily name you all. The people that we play with regularly are like the best people in the world at this game. Like that's like the people we get to play with all the time. It's probably the coolest thing about this job is that we get to play with a bunch of players that are so ridiculously good at this game. And the fact that we can even just hang is enough for us to, in my opinion, have the right to do this show. Like, in my opinion, that's good enough.
It really has less to do with wanting to beat those players and more about never wanting to make a mistake in front of Twitch chat.
You don't really care about making mistakes, Sean. Like,
Well,
or I feel like you don't. I don't. Do you feel the pressure when we have streamed?
Yeah, I mean, it's more so in the beginning though. I feel like I'm very good at that moment of letting go of the game when it comes to me and trying to figure out other things. I mean, I've definitely been drawn into it though, where I've definitely had that moment of like, oh, I'm gonna get you. You have ruined this game for me, and I'll never come back. Which is never true. There's always
Right.
It's never about board state.
I just wonder how
Almost
much,
never.
like, because I would say whenever you play, there's really no way for you to impress our audience through sheer mechanical skill with the game.
Yeah, that's definitely.
But I would say the way you approach it, as compared to maybe some of the other people that we have done holiday spectaculars with, is, I think, something that the audience can click into, which is the above the table stuff. Because that can always be interesting, even if you don't fully understand every little piece of the game.
That's
or
true.
whatever.
You know what? I'm kind of envious about the way you guys play is that you do get to play with new people all the time.
Yeah.
Which I don't. So I mean, for me, there's all that meta is always there. I never get
Right.
to escape that meta, and we play with roughly the same people every time. So it's pretty standard for me. It would
pretty
be
locked in.
it would be nice to go in and be able to play a game where I don't know how anyone's gonna play.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I love it and hate it depending on the day. But what
I'm
were you
just
saying?
imagining sicking Sean upon our community.
Well, see, but I think what Sean's saying is that everything with the difference between Sean and like me and you is that everything we're talking about with Sean, playstyle wise, is kind of locked into this one particular group. I don't know that Sean would play that way
Right.
with strangers over TTS.
Yeah, you're not going to pick some random person you've never met and just be like, haha, I'm going to get you like you do with me. You're not actually a mean person.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the fun when you're playing the game with new people or whatever is figuring out their play style, and I think the way you do that is through the mechanics of the game, right? Like you
Yeah.
see everybody's playing the same game, so it doesn't really. I mean, where's the fun and like you may as well go play a different game.
It would be fun to get
Otherwise-
you into a stream that like not both Hunter and I are in, and it's like random other people. I feel like
Yeah.
that would be very interesting to see how your playstyle completely shifts.
Do you mean
Because
like
I
a
only know-
stream from
Yeah.
Sean's perspective? Because I would
Oh,
love
that'd
that.
be even funnier.
Yeah,
let's
that
do
would
that.
be really great.
Let's let Sean stream on our Twitch someday. So okay, what else do we do when we sit down? How do you and I sit down to play against Sean?
Well, I mean, we sort of covered it when talking about me, but I would say that my goal is to try and reach some sort of understanding with Sean. I think the reason that I do this is because I know that Sean will turn at some point. And it won't necessarily be against me every time, but the idea is to be friendly, and then by the time we get to that point where Sean is going to turn and make some sort of swing,
Be ready for it.
just be the least attractive target at the table.
yeah.
Be the one that's like, well, I could go against Hunter, but look, he's got all these ships in these right positions now, and
Yeah.
I spend the whole game. I spend every single game thinking, regardless of who I'm playing against, I spend every single game just moving ships around the board in such a way as to be a very unattractive target all the time. If I'm having a good game, that is like my number one. That's actually the number one thing I would just recommend that anyone do.
That's basically what I have to do more of, because I think the mistake I've ever made in games is leaving anything open. Because for me with Sean, there will be no talking him out of it once he decides
Yes.
to come for me or do something to me. And
Well, because he's generally decided before
Right.
the talking comes up.
the example we have is there was a time in that one game where Sean literally basically flipped a coin on, I'm going to either attack Matt's home system or I'm going to attack Alex's home system, and he did the same thing that
Two-faced it.
he did the same thing my wife does when choosing dinner.
Yeah.
Which is flip the coin. Oh, it came up Alex.
Oh my god!
Well, I'm
dude.
gonna attack Matt.
It's
then,
like the
because
best.
I actually
it's
wanted
like
to
the
attack Matt.
best
It's like the best thing that's ever happened.
So,
oh my god!
but the point then is when I sit down to play against Sean,
dude, okay, wait.
If I'm gonna
you
be-
were justified in yelling at his face. Like
See,
that
that's
is
what
ridiculous.
I'm saying. Don't get can't get mad at me for screaming because Sean literally.
Yeah,
that's
he
why I
flipped the
screamed
coin.
at him in that moment too. Was because he did that. That was the moment.
But we all learned an important thing about coin flips, which is you really flip the coin to see what you feel
Yeah,
about it.
yeah,
It's
that's
not
true.
You're not
Totally.
flipping the coin to make the
Oh no!
decision.
Actually, don't say that because we have players that roll
that
dice
coin.
to decide everything, and then they disobey the dice. And these people are on my poo-poo
watch.
list. For me, this needs to go away.
Right.
Oh man, I've been wanting to do a stream where I do their gimmick,
Yeah, but
I do
hold
it
to
right,
it,
and
yeah.
I literally roll dice, and then somehow I win the game too.
But I want to get back to this point of so when I sit down now, especially if Sean is my neighbor, I know I'm already like this is a different game, and I'm probably not even going to win. All I can do now is try to prevent Sean from having an opportunity to get me, because Sean won't take a completely stupid shot at me. You know what I mean?
No.
He will look for the best opportunity to damage
Right,
me.
right.
And so my whole if people are ever like Matt, he's such a paranoid player. Like you worry about you'll find a way to like. I feel like there's that, especially in TTS meta. There's a lot of like, well, we can work out a deal to make a thing not happen, right? I can pay you to not take this planet from me or something like that. And maybe it's pay a lot, but like that's always an option. It is not an option with Sean. Sean's not going to accept 6 trade goods to not take my home system because he wants to take my home system. So the only strategic decision I can make is to not leave my home system empty.
You know what my favorite moment of any Sean doing something wild is though? Is there's the, let's say Sean is about to take your home system, Matt, and then you say, I'll give you everything. I'll give you 6 trade goods. There's always this thing you do, and I love it, where it seems like this time might be different. And you might actually take the deal every time.
Yeah.
He does it every time where you'll like listen to it and you'll be like, and then I could see the gears turning in your brain. And it's like you listen to it and think, maybe I should take the deal for a second. And then you think about it, you start considering it. And then it's almost like you wear yourself out and you get tired and
No.
you just think like, I'd rather just
I
do
have
it.
a different.
You have a different theory.
Different theory. Everything up to that point, he starts to consider it. He gets me thinking about it. He gets me hopeful, and then he sees the hope in my eyes.
Wow.
And
Wow.
two divergent paths. One, he sees the hope in my eyes and goes, I would like to destroy that.
Wow.
I'd like to take that away. Or two, which is the more likely
This
thing.
is a psychological episode.
This is a
'Cause
psychological
listen,
episode.
Like, what we're learning is that I'm generous, and like I was very generous there with how I described what was going on with Sean.
You don't experience it though.
Right.
You don't experience it
Well,
firsthand.
because I'm
And
generous.
he's looking the way he's looking
doing
at me
it now.
right now
He's
is
doing
that
it
look.
now.
But here's the other thing. Here's the more common things that happens. It's not just like, oh, I want to destroy Matt's hope. It's I get some hope, and the second I misstep and go, I maybe would make a offhand statement of like, he's not even going to do it. Whatever. The second I doubt him, I think he is hopeful to mend our relationship. And the second I doubt his ability to mend that relationship, he goes, yeah, I'm all in, MF.
He
Let's
doubted
do
me.
it. Yeah,
He
he
doubted
doubted
me.
He's going down then. If you don't think I can be better, I won't.
It's a powder keg. It's literally a powder keg. There's no
Believe in
wonder.
me.
It's no wonder that this always turns out this way.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
it really,
And it's
when you
because I
lay it
have a
all
short-
out, it makes sense.
Right. I have a short fuse, so it's easy for that to start and Sean to go, oh, he's already off, so there's what does it matter?
I'm just holding on to your hope.
Yep.
I'm really, I do want to say though, and I feel like I'm not, I will someday get credit for that. I'm going to call attention to it. I'm going to have a game with you, Matt, where you don't get mad at me about anything ever throughout the
Yeah.
entire game.
Well, I
and
want
it
the
just
same.
ends and I'm like,
But here's the
everything
thing.
was chill.
Don't put it all on me, because you also
I'm not
get
putting it
short
on
with
you.
me. We get short with each other.
I'm
listen,
rude,
I know.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a fair way to put it. I
Yes.
get angry and like,
I'm rude.
like I become unreasonable or whatever. But you'll scoff at me or whatever.
Oh, I'm not.
And that will set me off. It's like the smallest thing too. It's like a thing a normal person would do in a high tension scenario.
Yeah.
But then when you do it, I'm gone.
Well,
Yeah.
I think there's
I get under your skin.
Yes, exactly.
Real good.
Right.
And
I'm
easily.
incredibly sensitive to your judgment.
And what I'm trying to do lately is I'm like trying to recognize the buttons that I'm pushing, because a lot of them are complete. There's literally no thought behind it.
right.
It's literally just like stuff I do all the time.
There was I don't want to like empty out the closet, whatever the term is. I don't know. Clean the closet. But
No,
there
let's
was
do
a
it.
moment recently where I was the one streaming.
Yes.
You just gave me a little comment.
Yes.
And I smashed my keyboard.
That is the
and cursed at
exact
you.
reason
Right.
that I feel the
Now-
way that I feel.
And
that is the exact reason.
right. I will turn that around, and I have seen streams where you are in the driver's seat, and I've watched it back afterwards, and I see you just rolling your eyes at me to the stream, just just like, oh, how audacious, the words you use against me, and
Right.
oftentimes justified.
Well, see-
but those things are what I'm constantly ever vigilant of. Like, is Hunter gonna roll? Oh, he rolled his eyes. All right,
Right. So, but again, though, this is where I'm at with that. Is that it is not worth it for me to roll my eyes at like rolling my eyes at anything at this point.
Right.
I'm stapling my eyes to be completely, straight. Is just how I feel, because that reaction, I don't know. I've just experienced it so many times
Yeah.
at this point, and I just don't want it.
Right.
So I am just very vigilant on myself whenever I try and play. I feel like this most recent game we played, it was almost close to perfect.
Yeah,
Almost.
I think we both did good. I had such a focus on having to do things to Connor that you and I never had an opportunity
Exactly.
to have a negative relationship.
See, and that's why I did not actually sit on the other side of Connor
Right.
and do the deal, because I was like, I think it'll be better for our relationship if I am just like out of it.
Right.
If I'm just another person sitting.
The deal Hunter's referring to is we had colluded beforehand that Connor, we just for some reason we knew Connor would pick L1Z1X because he really likes L1Z1X.
Yes.
And I had to play Cabal. So the intent was for both Hunter was going to do Necro. We
Yes.
were both going to get Vortex, and we were just going to steal all of Connor's Dreadnoughts, because that's what Connor did to Hunter in this last year's Holiday Spectacular.
I don't know how
Connor played Cabal.
he zoned in on it like so fast. Of like Connor's such a weird person when it comes to playing Twilight Imperium, because I feel like he obviously doesn't get to play that much,
Right.
but certain things mechanically he seems to click into very, very fast. Other things, sometimes more obvious things or things of less consequence, it feels like he'll kind of miss.
Right.
But something that, like, I feel like Connor always clicks into the meanest play style
Yeah.
really fast,
Right.
and it's kind of amazing,
Yeah.
actually.
I do have one question, which
Okay.
is when you guys realize you're not going to win, like, what is the immediate
if it's with
route
friends,
your brain goes?
well, first off, I never truly give up on my chances to win. I'll cross my arms and I sit back and I kind of, for me, it's literally like there's an anger management thing going on, which is like I need to sit down and shut up and take a minute and calm down. And what stinks is like with you guys, I know that that's fine. You guys let me just kind of sit there and stew. And it sucks when it's like I'm playing on stream and Twitch is like, oh, here goes Matt. We're starting to lose him.
Right.
And it's like, please quit egging me on. I'm actually trying a very difficult mental gymnastics at the moment.
They're all down to press your buttons,
Yeah.
because that's what chat does. Is
Right.
Chat.
But
chat presses
anyways,
buttons.
when I'm pretty much out, like I just sort of stay on the path of like, let me keep getting my points. And if I was upended by someone like you or Connor or someone doing something crazy to me, like, okay, well, part of the goal is to not let you win. But I never just like send everything I've got at you and just do everything in my power to stop your game. But I will not give you any wiggle room if I can help it. And that becomes my kind of modus operandi, is just like, look for a win, try to find something, maybe the circumstances will change, and don't let Sean get an inch.
I feel like when I'm losing, I can only lose for so long before I get tired, and then I just kind of quit caring so much. Chat has gotten mad at me before for
Just tuning out completely.
not
Not taking
rolling
making good
the
decisions.
worst dice I could.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
right.
Like,
You have that like 0.01%
they'll be like, oh,
chance.
yeah, there's a 1% chance that this plan could work, but it's like really overwrought and it's a lot of difficult stuff. And if we're at like, round 5 and I've been playing for 6 hours and I really am like a lot of times when we get to the late game, I'll be thinking about stuff more in terms of like, well, who deserves to win this
Right.
game? Like, who actually deserves it? And a lot of times that poisons my way of thinking when it comes to winslaying in a way that has frustrated people.
Well, hello, you're not going to believe it. Leader Games, they still are really nice to us, and they are still sponsoring this show. And I want you to go support them by going to leadergames.com/SCPT, and you can pre-order stuff like Oath, which we will not shut up about, but also they have a new expansion for Fort called Cats and Dogs coming out, and you need to go also pre-order that stuff. They've got things coming out constantly. You cannot stop the action of Leader Games. Please go to leadergames.com/SCPT and hit up all of their stuff so that you can show them how much you love them, love us, love everybody, love you. Mwah.
Okay, so let's get now. Do me. Let's get to me. I'm curious. We've sort of covered it in covering each other, but playing against me, I am curious on your guys' vibe when it comes to dealing with the hothead, I guess.
Yeah. You're not someone that would pull like a mutually assured destruction type thing. You would never pull that. That's such a kind of I don't know, it's just not in your style.
I still want to win too badly.
Yeah.
Generally speaking.
You keep winning very much on the brain, and mutually assured destruction is by definition not a winning strategy. I always feel like you're in the driver's seat when it comes to our relationship as players, which is I feel like, oh, everything's chill, and then a situation gets forced that I very rarely feel like I am creating the situation.
Sean, I would love your analysis here then, because I feel like I've never had it truly painted. Like we make the joke a lot that like you're here to mess with me, but I am curious in your I sit down to win, and then at some point maybe not, and definitely will mess with Matt. What is that ecosystem inside of your brain?
Usually it really pretty much has to do completely with your placement within the community, within the board. So if you're far away from me, it will take a long time because I will not even think of you for a long time. Whoever, almost invariably, doesn't matter whoever's on the opposite side of the world, the universe. For me, I just don't think about that. I think about the two people on either side of me, and then maybe
like wormhole
peoples, or a little bit further out if whoever's not playing ball, trying to leapfrog to the next person down the line. But Matt, you just make it really easy. I think for me is that I watch you go. You're like a door-to-door salesman almost, and you go from player to player, and I know it's all in service of that point every time. So I kind of watch you go door to door, with your deals and trying to figure out how this is going to work. And even if I'm not hearing it, even if these conversations are happening in private, I usually can gather up enough information to sort of figure out when you're about to make a play. It's keeping an ear open, and as soon as that opportunity presents itself, it's like a nice little bonus round. And usually, I'm going to be honest, there's enough people at the table who are upset with your deals from some point that I usually
You'll
make
never
a
catch
friend.
Heat. Yeah, you'll never catch heat from doing a horrible thing to me. Like in the moment just a little bit ago, you hadn't even considered the fact that what Sean did to me in that Alex versus me home system thing was bad in the moment. You just now had the revelation that was super mean.
No, I knew that was mean.
Well,
it's not like I didn't understand how mean it was.
Sure, but nobody cared in the moment. Nobody else at the table cared.
No. But also, in the
why should they? No. I get it. Okay. I'm not saying that these are wrong opinions to hold. But Sean, that is an interesting point that you find the perfect chance to. I can do the most damage to Matt when everyone will cheer me on, and I'll make a friend out of it.
Yeah, I usually find at least one person at the table will flip to be in support. Somebody out there.
I
mean, but that's true of any player, I think, because you're pitted against each other. So I think I always pick Matt because it's fun and it's history at this point. But I think it could be anyone. It could be Connor.
Right.
It could be.
If I was having a terrible game, you wouldn't do those things to me. You're not going to beat me while I'm down. If I just had the worst, if Connor was ruining my round 1 and 2 and I was just out of it by round 3, you're not gonna then do the petty thing to me.
Well,
At-
it depends
in-
on how good. Like,
How-
can I
when
take
does that
your
even
home
happen?
system?
It hasn't. Yeah, I mean, I guess not.
When would we even have an opportunity to see
No.
that? Because you're always going to be in, by around the mid game, you're going to be in the best or second best position of all the players at the table every time, and then about in the mid game is where the bad thing happens, whatever it's going to be.
Right. I don't know. I don't understand what my approach should be.
I mean,
to actually win a game.
I think I think you're in a good spot, which is that that you have one person at the table that is like very consciously thinking the whole time, like, let's
Get him.
no, the opposite. Like, I'm just sitting there being like, say yes, do good things, make it good. I'm
You say that, but then when you get the offer, you aren't that way anymore. You
Well,
call me audacious. You think my offers are audacious.
No. What I'm trying to say is I'm trying to stop that. I'm just trying to say yes. Don't think about it too much. Say yes. Which is, and then we'll just find out if this is, because I think there's kind of a case that you're making, which is that I have a specific bias against you that I don't share against everybody else. I don't feel like that's true, but the only way that we can really test that is if I just go into a game and say yes.
Right. I don't feel like I have a bias against you as a player. I have a sensitivity towards you that when you do certain things, it gets under my skin more than normal. And so it isn't I also sit down to a game and try to go, I'm not gonna let there be a rift between Hunter and I. I'm just gonna do deal making. And then, like with the recent game, kind of what happens is I offer a deal and your response back isn't just, oh no thanks.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, don't be ridiculous. And I go, I wasn't trying to
Well,
be ridiculous.
I'm sorry about that. What I'm telling
I'm
you is
not-
that
I'm not
trying
scolding
to,
you right now. I'm not-
Okay,
I'm not saying it
But
as
what
a,
I'm
like,
what I'm
do
telling you is that
better.
I'm actively trying to
Ditto.
not do that and not give you any guff or whatever. Like, just be
Ditto.
yeah.
I'm trying to not read your in-game scoff or whatever it might be as anything more than what it just is, which is just like a gut, like a reaction,
Yeah.
rather than like a judgment on everything I've ever thought and believed. That's like where my brain goes. He thinks I'm an absolute idiot for
No.
offering the deal I was offering, and it's not that. It's you just thought, no, I don't want that, and I said it in the quickest way to get you to leave that deal alone.
No,
basically.
it comes from more. I mean, the times that has happened in the past, it comes from more of a place of, well, just not liking the deal, just
Right.
thinking that it's a bad deal.
Totally.
Like, I mean, it's like
Right.
when someone offers you something that you don't think is a good deal, you're like, ugh,
Yeah.
I don't want this.
For sure.
That's bad. But yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I think that figuring out how it's so weird, because I mean we played games so many times, and now I feel like I'm actively just trying to figure out how to play
Against each other.
a game with you. It's not even about playing against you. I don't care about playing against you.
No, I know.
anymore.
I'm just being with each other in the game.
Yeah.
I don't mean it as against, but I it's like right now I even more than ever want to. I wish we could have done a proper holiday spectacular. Like I want to play an IRL game with all of our friends because I
it
need to
would've
get
been
that
cool.
dynamic back where I've really been focusing on not being petty, and I want to see if I can hold
You can
true to
snap
that.
back into the pettiness.
Yeah.
I don't even really know where I'm at with the game anymore, because it does feel like that focusing on winning too much has kind of made the game less fun.
Yeah.
And so I'm actively just trying to play for fun, which is actually why I like doing things like the homebrew stream that I had to cancel again. That's a little teaser there. Actually, it's not a teaser because this is coming out after the fact, but it did get canceled
Right.
again.
Yeah.
I
I think
like
we're
playing
both
stuff like
excited.
that.
I think we're both excited. I enjoy commentating tournament game because then it's not my game being critiqued, and I just don't handle the gameplay critique well. And then you and I get to get into doing goofy, fun streams where it doesn't even have to have like a dumb gimmick. I just want to be able to play a game where I don't need to do the perfect opportune strategy. Like I can just try kind of the goofy things. Like I just want to play with integrated economy more and War
Right.
Suns more and things like that where it's like I just want to get the fun tech that's fun and exists, but it's not blue-green, so
Right.
that's inefficient. So why would you go for it? It's like I don't care about that anymore. I just don't care.
Yeah, trying to play the game perfect versus trying to just follow your bliss.
Right.
I don't even. Yeah, I would say I feel a little bit differently than that. Like I don't even really like approaching the game as a scientist and trying to. Oh well, what if I do this and what happens? That I've been playing that game basically since POK came out, and I'm a little bit sick of that game. I just want to not know what I'm doing
Right.
and just do whatever feels good. Even if that does mean I end up doing like, oh, I'm just going to do blue-green because it feels good,
Right.
whatever.
Right.
Just play the game to play it is where I'm at right now.
Is anybody out there doing little stories, trying
There are
to
people that
add,
want to. I
add
see it brought up all
flavor
the time.
to
I mean,
games?
There's a
you can
Twilight
borrow
Imperium
that
book now.
You can read the book.
I don't read the book.
Don't read the book. It's not.
I want
It's-
to. I want people to play the game and
Write their fiction.
And write
about
their
it.
fiction
there
about-
are people
about that
that
world.
request out all the time. So if you are a person that does that, send them in. Gimme.
yeah, I'll read
Gimme.
them, but don't give me a book.
I want to thank our Weird Bears.
I want to read your
Welch.
I want to read your blog.
Bot, Kaloo, and Squee Machine, Son of Mate Nason, John Arwise, Absol, Ponchadori, Astoria, Bro, Duel, Sunfax, Rumor Hippo, and our little peace turtles, Naderade, Patience is a Virtue, Gazkio, Dark Jutsu, Brave Sir Robin, Uncle Batty, Frank G, Carnal, my son is also named Bort, and Villiers, Samley, Alice, Kraken, and Goondock.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so Galactic Council poll, second round is out. Here are your two choices, Galactic Councilors. Please vote. The options are our current play styles and what we want to learn / change. Uh-oh.
Feels
Did
a little
we
bit like an echo. Did we just do that?
accidentally
Not
do
quite.
that one? We'll find. We'll be liberal with how we define
I have
that
way
one.
more I want to say on that.
Sure,
specific
yeah.
I want to do the homebrew. Can I do the homebrew?
You can read the homebrew if you want. So are the new factions too good?
Is your other option.
Is your other option? Those are the two options. Actually, this is not even accurate as to what I need to say next, though.
Oh.
For Homebrewers Guild. Actually, you can read this part, Sean.
All right.
No, you literally can't. This is wrong, too.
Oh no! Well,
Sean, you don't get to read anything.
you don't get to read the stuff.
Ask him
Actually,
to-
you can do this. You can do
Yeah,
that.
I'll do
You can do
that.
that.
Let
You
me
can do
do
that.
that
But so first, Homebrewers Guild. So obviously, stream did not happen. Had to be last minute be canceled because my computer is exporting a video file and it is taking forever. And it's insanely bad. This is something that happens every once in a while while we're doing the tournament, and it ruins my life because it makes everything just get stuck. It's the kind of thing where where you have a job and every day you're coming in and you're like, oh my god, I have a pile of work, but none of it can happen until this progress bar finishes. That's where I'm at. So we push Homebrewers Guild back. It'll be I'm just gonna go ahead and say it'll be next month. We will combine the Faction Promissory Note stream with the exploration stream that the Homebrewers Guild is working on right now, because honestly, Faction Promissory Notes, it's not enough to change the game, even though some of these Faction Promissory Notes are buck wild. But that plus exploration, I think, will be a fun combination. I apologize to anyone in the guild that feels like, well, I was owed a stream and I didn't get it, but you'll get a double stream next month.
Right.
Sorry.
We've got a couple games coming up for the tournament. This coming weekend does not have a Flat Tomatoes stream. The schedule just kind of didn't work out that way. So you're looking at Saturday, May 29th at 1800 UTC on the Space Cats Peace Turtles channel, and Sunday, May 30th at 1400 UTC on the Space Cats Peace Turtles. We're trying to get the last 4 prelims games scheduled, and then we're done with the
my God.
prelims. June 14th-ish might be the end of the prelims. And then we're taking some time off before the semis, mostly
Yeah.
to build hype, but also Daddy and Mommy need a break.
Oh my god, I'm so tired of the relentless tournament churn.
We're
the
both
grind.
literally taking some vacations after the prelims are
Dude,
done.
this freaking oh no, actually,
Yeah, real vacations.
actually happening.
You can also rate our show. Please give us 5 stars
Nope,
on iTunes.
no,
Oh, Sean's
no.
upset.
That's not for you
Do
this
it.
time. Here's where y'all can talk about and rate our shows. You can rate it on your own podcast app. We'd really appreciate if you'd head on over to Apple Podcasts /iTunes website for some real good
He
stuff.
doesn't know what he's reading.
it's because the rundown doesn't make sense, Matt.
I know. Well,
You've
it's
just
notes
had this-
for me. It's bullet points.
It's
Tell them that they can...
No.
Tell them
Let- no.
what's on... All right,
Don't
keep
give
reading.
him a clue.
No, keep reading.
just figure it out.
Head on over to your own podcast app and rate us. We'd really love it if you could do it on Apple Podcasts /iTunes, especially. That one's real important to us and our loved ones.
Where
Website-
else can they go?
Hit us up on our Patreon. Make sure you're getting in there. That's where all the goodies live. That's where you can get your special titles. Twitter, you can tweet at us. At which one? Tell them, Matt. Where's the Twitter?
Space
Space
Cats
Cats
Pod.
Pod.
You hit us up on our Discord. You're probably already there. You know where we got merch. Do y'all have merch?
We have some
Yeah, we have
merchandise.
merch. We're kind of not hot on the merch right now, though.
We have some new shirts coming up too,
Yeah.
very soon that
Yeah.
I'm incredibly excited for. So keep
And
an eye
also-
on that, and we're gonna make sure they work and are good. And
If
you can
you
find all that at
do-
SpaceCatsPeaceTurtles.com.
If you do merch, just hit us up because we're trying to switch from Threadless. We're going to take our designs and we're going to take them elsewhere
Yep,
because
yep.
it's been a little rough.
Molly, you got anything else?
Yeah, does Molly have anything to add?
Take us out.
Oh, now suddenly we're quiet.
now
okay,
Molly
now
doesn't
we
care.
don't want to talk. Okay,
Now
I get
Molly's
it.
out.
Thank you for listening to Space Cats Peace Turtles, and thanks to Ben Prunty for the use of his music. You can find more at benpruntymusic.com and benprunty.bandcamp.com. Pax Magnifica, Bellum Gloriosum.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. It's kind of that, right?
Yeah,
He's
that's pretty
kinda
good.
doing it.
You pretty much
that
nailed
sounded
it.
pretty good. Good job, Molly.